I think this is a new function, or this might be a webinar function, but you can pause, stop recording. That's fascinating in case you just need to say something really out of pocket for a minute.
Uh-oh.
We're gonna have to get you a crown for your art car life.
Oh my goodness. Every year on my um, letter to Santa, I ask for creativity. Can I have a little creativity, please?
Uh,
Yeah.
I do miss seeing these like on the street. I feel like in years past, like 20 years ago, you were more likely to see like the odd cars like in the middle of the year, just like driving that Westheimer and stuff. You
Yeah.
don't see that so much anymore.
Okay, it's 9:30. Should I go ahead and let folks in? Hank, do you want to pull up slides and I will hit start?
All right.
We have 3 people in the waiting room. I say we just dive in. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We'll give it just a moment. Let folks filter into the room. Happy Saturday. All right, shall we go ahead and dive in? Good morning. Welcome to the second information session for the BIPOC Arts Network and Funds Arts Education Peer-to-Peer Mentorship Program. This session will be recorded, and we will also have closed captions available. The recording will be sent out after the webinar and will also be posted to the Banff YouTube channel after, probably later this week. Go to the next slide. The BIPOC Arts Network and Fund is a place-based initiative focused on building a thriving BIPOC arts ecosystem. We're dedicated to strengthening networks across the city, across aesthetic and cultural histories. To build a place where hope and dreams can exist, we must acknowledge the histories that have brought us to this moment. We build upon the hopes and dreams of those who came before us. Some were brought here against their will. Some were drawn here to leave their distant homes in hope of a better life. And some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We began this effort to acknowledge what has been buried by honoring the truth. We are living on the ancestral lands of the Karankawa, Akokisa, Tonkawa, the Mexica, and Atacapa Ishak people. We pay respect to their elders past and present. To honor their sacrifices, their hopes, their dreams, and the things they could not even dream. We build forward together, recognizing the responsibility of each other's hopes and for the futures we build for our children, loved ones, and all of those we do not know, but who also deserve the opportunity to thrive. The Black, Indigenous, and People of Color Arts Network and Fund is a learning initiative that involves through ongoing conversations and process. We share this vision that is guiding our current work. Want to thank you all for joining us this morning. In that process-based nature of BAMF's work, the arts education peer-to-peer mentorship team is comprised of a series of leaders throughout the community. This work is collaborative at every step of the way. My name is Eepi Chaad. I use she, her pronouns. I'm an artist and a cultural worker, and I'm serving as the program manager for the Arts Ed peer-to-peer mentorship program. On the screen, I want to mention that we have a design team, a facilitation team, and additional team members that are supporting this work. And I am very grateful to be joined here today by two of my colleagues and thought partners and members of the design team. So I'll let them introduce themselves. I'll pass it over to Sebastien.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sebastien Boncy. Been using roughly 30 years, and I am an educator and a photographer. I've been on and off with BAMF as a community consultant since pretty much the beginning, and I'm very happy to join Eepi and the rest of the team on this new chapter.
There, I am Rickey F. Polidore Jr., a very excited member of the design team. I've been an educator now for over 20 or so years, and I like to think of myself as a creative kinesthetic artist, and I really enjoy creating those works of art with students and youth in our community, feeling, to give them those hands-on experiences with thoughts and processes that can guide them for the rest of their creative lives. So I'm happy to be here today, and feel free to reach out anytime. We are here to assist. So today's session, we'll really talk about the Arts Network and Fund overview and the peer-to-peer mentorship program. We'll share the vision, the eligibility, and the criteria. Of course, the process and components of the application, talk about the process, and at the end, there will be an opportunity for Q&A in the chat. Today's session will give you a broad overview of the program and spend time diving deeper into the narrative questions that are within the application. We encourage you to enter anything you'd like in the chat, and we'll pause here and there to review the answers and try to address any of the questions as we go. Next slide. So the BIPOC Arts Network Fund aims to strengthen the support structures of arts organizations, artists, and BIPOC communities. An important part of that work is arts education for our BIPOC students, K through 12. We also recognize that many of the organizations are built with a dedication to education, understanding creative expression in the arts as an essential part of what will nourish BIPOC children in their journey toward leadership and broader community thriving. As a part of the commitment to supporting arts education in Houston as a critical component of the larger arts ecosystem, in 2023, the BIPOC Arts Network Fund initiated the Arts Education Landscape Exploration Project. We've gathered information about the current arts education landscape in Houston through the inquiry of a cohort of arts leaders combined with community feedback. Throughout the process, we identified a list of issues that BIPOC-led arts organizations are facing when developing and implementing direct arts education programming for K-12 students. Those include access to campus and community partners, training opportunities to support building impactful arts education programming, convening the community around resource sharing, as well as mentorship and a support system for those, and the support for projects, the development, and its implementation. The Arts Education Peer-to-Peer Mentorship Program, which continues the work by building upon the learnings from the Exploration Project. The multifaceted program will build capacity in BIPOC-led arts organizations who are interested in developing and deepening their art education offerings by leveraging the knowledge and assets of the community combined with direct resourcing and technical supports. For the purpose of the rest of our conversation today, we'll be referring to K through 12 students' engagement whenever we refer to arts education. So the program, you think Sebastien would say it's a multifaceted approach?
Yes. And we're going to go into detail, but basically what you have on your screen right now, sort of like the building blocks of the thing. So of course, $10,000 for visitor participation stipend per organization. Um, a the building of the peer network experience. We will have facilitated mentorship pairings, a support and workshop series throughout the 18-month period, and additional direct program funding opportunities. And those are specific. And again, we'll go into the details on those. And then, of course, at the end, evaluation and learning. We are talking about sort of like building for the future. So just like with anything else, BAMF has like built or facilitated. This is with an eye towards sort of creating sustainable, or at least, you know, scalable and continuing systems. Can I have the next slide, please? Yes. So each organization will receive $10,000, and that's to help support the programs that you'll be implementing, also to help offset the sort of like extra labor um, that you'll be asking from your team members in terms of contributing and learning from the cohort experience. So that stipend will be used sort of kind of at your discretion for those purposes. Different organizations will have different needs. So the peer-to-peer mentorship cohort will be comprised of a maximum of 24 organizations, 12 pairs that are invested in learning, sharing, and growing together. So the full cohort will meet quarterly, and so that's in combination with sort of like in-person. Sorry. I mean, it'd be a mix of in-person and virtual meetings, of course, because we live in 2024. A Now, full participation is really important because, again, the idea is that the cohort is co-designing a this a this effort, and so your participation is essential for the final product, the final result. And we, BAMF, also very responsive to your feedback throughout the whole thing. The next slide, please. So each pair will have a designated a sort of like facilitator. We understand that like each organization has like very specific needs, very specific strengths. Um, and so you'll be in curated pairs. And again, a little bit more detail for coming on there. So each one of those pairs will have a facilitator that meets with the pair like once every 2 months, and together you'll determine goals and sort of like knowledge sharing, collaboration, etc. Now, in addition to this, the technical support would be a group of uh, area experts, content area experts, and field leaders, um, getting together to make sort of like a presentation with the pairs or demos, etc. And this is sort of like in response to your needs. So there are a few from the prior learning that have been sort of like identified, but the majority of the topic areas will be informed directly by the core in question. Um, all organizations will be required to participate in a minimum of 4 of these workshops. The workshops will be accessible to any of the organizations in Houston on a first come, first serve basis. Next slide, please. So during the 18-month, the organizations will have an additional opportunity to develop a proposal and apply for direct programmatic support. So that's another $10,000 for like a specific program that like individual organizations who want to sort of like build and implement, that would serve like K to 12 students in the Houston area for 2025-2026 school year. This one is an optional version. It's not a necessary part of the experience, but we're hoping that the core and the curated pairs will lead to interesting things here. Each organization will be expected to contribute feedback about the experience through regular interactions with their facilitator, as well as through other evaluation processes. We engage awardees and the network in sharing experience, opportunities, and challenges so that we can connect success and progress narratives of each organization to the broader culture shifts and systems um, for change work. Yeah.
I'll walk us through some of the highlights of eligibility now. All of the eligibility criteria that you see on the screen must be met to be considered for this particular opportunity. The organization must be BIPOC founded and led, and this is in recognizing the stated need to address historic under-resourcing of BIPOC organizations. We are looking for a history of not only serving BIPOC communities, but being led by BIPOC arts leaders. As far as the current history of arts education, and to Rickey's point earlier, when we're saying arts education in terms of this opportunity, we're looking at K through 12, but we also want to acknowledge that arts education is a broader area than just K through 12 impact. So I'll note that we are looking for organizations at any place in their journey, but we are looking for organizations that have an alignment between their current organizational mission and vision for the future and arts education. Organizations should have 501(c) status, C3 status. Tribal communities are also eligible, and fiscally sponsored projects are eligible. I'll make a note that with the timeline of this project, if your organization does not currently have one of those statuses, it is unlikely that you would be able to receive that status unless something is already in the works to apply for this particular opportunity. We are looking at organizations that have the capacity to participate in the full experience. That requires having the ability to dedicate leadership's time to the cohort experience. We are also looking for organizations that are located in and serve the 9-county region of Greater Houston. And I'll make one note about organizations that are eligible that is not on the screen. So along with having that 501(c)(3) status or fiscal sponsorship status, we are looking for organizations that provide primarily arts and culture programming. What that means, that has been translated in the past to mean that between 40 and 50% of your programming is dedicated to presenting arts and culture content. On that note, if you have questions about whether your organization meets that criteria, we'll ask you to reach out to BAMF directly so we can have that conversation. We move on to the next slide. Now, beyond that eligibility requirement list, we can go ahead and talk about what we're looking for within arts and culture organizations that are interested in this opportunity. We're looking for organizations that have a history of supporting the BIPOC arts ecosystem in Houston. And that is broad spectrum. That is looking at supporting artists. We're looking at supporting arts organizations and communities of color. And again, to the note about where you are in your current arts education journey, we want you to think broadly about that. This is a capacity building opportunity, so you don't have to have 10 years of programming history in schools to be applicable. We want to bring together a cohort of folks that have diverse disciplines, diverse location geographically in the massive city-state that is Houston. And we want folks that are in different places in their journey. We're also looking for different scales of organizations. We are looking at people that are, an organization that's 1 or 2 folks, or an organization that is 50 folks, still eligible. The bigger picture is that you are contributing to that bigger arts ecosystem in Houston. We are looking for organizations that can demonstrate a specific interest in building organizational capacity, specifically around developing that arts education programming. And in this case, we're thinking through the K through 12 lens. We're looking at organizations that can come into the cohort experience and can openly and generously teach what they bring into the space and be open to learning from others. And we're looking for organizations that are interested in, ready for investment and deep collaboration across other nonprofit organizations, across institutions, including districts and campuses, but then thinking broader than that as well. Additionally, we are looking for folks that are just open to sharing knowledge. Part of the capacity building that we are looking at through this opportunity is within your own institution, but part of the capacity building looks at just the greater ecosystem and being able to support one another as peers and colleagues. We're looking for folks that are willing to engage in adaptive learning. And flexibility is key when we are building responsive programming together. We're looking for a commitment to beneficial collaboration and community relationship building. The network is bigger than any one organization, any one project. And we're looking for a dedication to holding space for students because at the end of the day, our primary focus here is direct impact to students in the K through 12 learning environment here in Houston. And of course, prioritizing the impact of arts education on students at every step of the process. So now we will move into an overview of the application. We're going to recommend that you take a deep dive into the guidelines document, which goes step by step through the application process and additionally gives further context around some of the areas, and will probably answer quite a few questions. In the interest of time, we are not going to be reviewing the use of Submittable, the platform where you can access the application today, but we will be dropping in a link to a guide to Submittable. If you have any questions or issues, Submittable has a fairly robust help desk, but additionally, the folks at BAMF are able to support in that end. Through the Q&A portion, we are really going to focus on the narrative questions today. And we encourage you to drop your questions as we go into the Q&A. We'll try and pause as we go and answer questions as they come up, but also we'll have plenty of time at the end of today's session to have a discussion about any lingering questions.
When we think about the education, the application, there are 7 sections, and that first section is really about your organization and the key people that are within. But for sure, you have to be 501c3, as Epi said, tribal community, or fiscally sponsored. And that's really the eligibility for the program. So it's know your name of the program. Of course, any social media and website would go on there. And again, importantly, your the status of your organization. You know, when we talk about the key people, it's really having someone there to attend the meeting, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the leader of the organization, but as long as there is representation, so that that information can be shared throughout, and you know, not one person is the keeper. So we'll ask for up to 3 contacts, and that can be the leadership, the programming, or the teaching artist that work within. And so that way the communication, invitation, and emails can go out to everyone. And if it is a Zoom call, everyone would be welcome to attend.
All right. So,
Any thoughts about that? No questions? Sorry about that,
sorry,
Sebastien. I
we
was
just
just thinking
went
out
there a little
loud.
bit. My bad.
Mhm.
Yes, and we want to know about your mission, vision, values. This is very much focused on sort of like the K to 12 us education. So how does that fit into your mission? Again, this doesn't have to be the main mission of your organization, but do you have a commitment to sort of like expanding the programming, to reaching more students, to like improving the quality of the education? So you don't need to have really extensive experience with K to 12. You don't need to be a sort of like, K to 12 based organization, but um, it makes sense if your mission is aligned around the importance of arts education, so that will be sort of like a big factor. Like one of the big ones that we're looking for is how does your mission sort of like fold into um, the the sort of like education pilot we're talking about here. Are there specific areas pertaining to arts education that your organization would benefit from engaging in further learning and development? Again, talking about like the pairing, talking about the cohort. It's like, so it's not just about your current mission. I guess it's about what you're building towards. Um, yeah, the next slide.
I would have to say that building really is the important part because this is a peer-to-peer mentorship. And if you are new to the K to 12 educational process, you're definitely needed, in the Houston area. Quick, I love me a number, but real quick fact, the HISD, the largest district that serves most of the students in the county is 88% BIPOC. And of that 88% BIPOC enrollment in HISD, 79% of the district is considered economically disadvantaged. So the students need all of you to fill in those gaps where needed. So the peer-to-peer mentorship really will assist in that by helping to build capacity within curriculum development for your program. Community and partnership building will be inevitable as we create this huge cohort that will last, throughout to support these students. Training those teaching artists to not be nervous when they're standing in front of a group of students, that they're little humans, but they are susceptible to all of the information that you're ready to give, and really evaluating the process so that we can create a log of successes, glows, and grows to help those that come after. And of course, the fundraising aspects of how to get more dollars into the programming for the educational process. I think that this is a wonderful opportunity, not only for the students, but also for the organizations of the city to really work hand in hand in promoting the arts education of the whole child. We know that oftentimes the arts is the reason why the students come to school anyway. So this will be a great opportunity to expand that knowledge.
I'll make a quick note here around network-based resource sharing as well. I think that there's opportunities when you are connected with your peers and your colleagues to leverage resources that may be a little out of the box to further your opportunities to work with students. So I would encourage everyone to think about what capacities exist outside of the traditional nonprofit bullet points when you're thinking about leveraging community connections.
Thank you, Epi. And, earlier we discussed, understanding that each one of your organizations specific or unique, and in this section, you really sort of like would lean into this because we're interested in what you can share or teach in the peer-to-peer mentorship experience. So, uh, what do you bring to the table that is specific? What have been your successes that can be sort of like shared throughout the community? Again, this is, this whole idea is about sort of like ending these silos of knowledge and experience and expertise. um, the idea is that we'll all, at the end of the 18 months, come out sort of like stronger and enriched. Um, so this would be the section where you can talk about your successes, your connections, your experience, the specific sort of shape and a strength of your vision, of your leadership, of your processes?
Rolls right into section 4. Section 4 is what I like to call, the brag section, where you really get to, it's your commercial. So this is where you talk about the wins and the successes that you've had in the past, or even some of the wins and successes that you look forward to. Working with organizations that you've had relationships with in the past, and we're asking for like up to 3 that you've already connected with in this arts education collaborative experience or partnership. And how has there been a direct impact for those K through 12 students as a result? For those that don't necessarily have a long history with K through 12 arts education programs, you can also talk about the arts education in general. So this can be K to 12, this can be like a vocational. It's all about the arts education, but this is a time to really think outside the box and maybe present something within the application that we haven't seen before. If you're forging a new path, this would be a great opportunity to share that information. Part of that is the arts education peer organization. So I think that Sebastien talks about it so well in his experience with working with Banff.
Thank you, Ricky. Yes, and basically with all things BAM, you know, it's collaborative. So maybe you already have some organizations that you have worked with in the past, or that you've been thinking about, or that you have, or you know, it's like you look at them, it's like, I'm trying to be like you. They might be, I'm trying to be like you. This is the perfect time to get together. So we're asking you to name 3 organizations that you would like to be paired with. Um, and again, these are curated pairs, so there are no guarantees, but but we are very much listening to what you need, and it's part of sort of like our consideration and a sort of like service to you also on a certain level. So we'll ask you to name 3 organizations that you would like to be paired with. Why? What are you hoping to get out of that sort of like synergy? Um, and that will play a sort of heavy role in curation of the mentorship pairs.
In section 6, the organizational profile, you will be asked for just some more bare bones things about the organization, your mailing address, the back end pieces. But we're also asking you to share a little bit about the makeup of your organization. And anyone who has applied for BAMF funding on an organizational level before will have seen this document. I want to share that this document is available as a downloadable PDF in the submittable application. We share this because sometimes working in submittable is not the easiest thing if you're working in a chart or a spreadsheet format. So highly recommend pulling that out, working on the worksheet separately, and then inputting the information back into submittable. This helps us to just get a bigger picture of your organizational scale, the general makeup, the history of your organization, what your leadership looks like, and helps us think about capacities as well. Before we move into the open Q&A, I just want to take a moment to review the supports that are in place for this opportunity. We will have one additional information session on Tuesday, January 7th from 9:30 to 11 a.m. That session will be a meeting rather than a webinar, and will be open working space to workshop any issues that you may be having with the application itself, whether it be technical, an issue with the actual platform, or whether you'd like to talk through any of the narrative portions if you have questions about eligibility, you can bring all of that into that space, and we will be there to discuss. We also have a support desk through the Banff website that you can reach through the page for the program. And we'll also drop the link into the chat here in a second. That support desk has a list of questions already populated that may answer something that's coming up for you, but there is also an opportunity to submit additional questions, and any question that you submit will be answered directly, but will also be held in that support desk for other applicants. So you'll be able to see the responses for other people's questions as well. We also have the capacity to help with folks who may need accommodations in the application process. We do ask that if you have any accessibility needs, that you contact Banff at info@houstonbanff.org by noon on January 6th, so that we have ample time to respond to your request. And then we'll recommend that you sign up for the Banff newsletter if you are not already on there, so that you can get up-to-date information about the program. And of course, we'll recommend that you take a look at the guidelines document. It is fairly comprehensive and should share a lot of details about the program that you may need. The applications opened on December 2nd. They will be open through January 13th. We hope that that gives folks enough time after the holidays to return to the application and spend some time in there. We will go into reviews of the applications from January 15th through February 15th. Mid-February, the reviews will be taken to Banff leadership to make final decisions around the cohort. And we expect to send out notifications by late February, and that time we'll also share next steps. So for some transparency around the review process for this opportunity, the first step that will take place after the applications close is that Banff will review applications for eligibility, specifically looking at location, your organizational status, all of those pieces of criteria that we covered earlier. Then we'll move into panel reviews. In this particular opportunity, we are engaging the design team. Rickey, Sebastien, and their colleagues will be reviewing the applications. Then from the review process, we will move into peer-to-peer mentorship pairings. And that also will be done in collaboration between the Banff team and the design team. After that, we will go through verifications, approvals from Banff's upper leadership, and then we will send out acceptances from there.
I did want to go back, Epi, and just kind of highlight something that Sebastien said earlier that was also here, is when you're putting the 3 organizations that you could possibly like to work with in that peer-to-peer mentorship program, possibly maybe looking around and doing some research to see if there is an organization out there that you would kind of like to model your steps towards. This would be a great opportunity to do that as well. So if you don't know of one, I think that this would be a great time to kind of research and find one to kind of model your processes after.
That is a great point, Rickey. And places that we would recommend taking a look for folks that are already working in this field. You can look on the Banff website at past grantees. There is quite a compendium of BIPOC founded and led organizations available there. And I would also recommend cross-referencing with the Arts Connect Houston partner list. Everyone on the Arts Connect Houston partner list is currently engaging in arts education programming, but there's so many organizations in this city that are not currently represented on either of those lists. So please think broad, think widely. And also, if you are already connected to an organization that is not currently engaging with either of those organizations, encourage them to apply. I mean, you absolutely can call a colleague at an organization that you've wanted to work
Right.
with, encourage them to apply for the application as well. And then you both ask to work with one another, and we will take that to heart. Yeah. We will move into the Q&A portion. And we have a question from Stacy Allen. I have a question regarding peer-to-peer. Will peers have to both be awardees? Should I reach out to possible peers ahead of time? Yes. Both peers will have to be awarded and be part of the cohort experience. And you absolutely should encourage folks to apply. But one additional piece to that, going back to the technical supports that will be available, that portion will be available to any arts organization in the city of Houston. So primary access to those technical supports will be to the cohort. You will get the opportunity to register first. If the technical session is completely filled by the cohort, then we won't be able to open spots to other organizations. But any open spots will be available to absolutely any organization in the city of Houston, because we are certainly not trying to gatekeep the dissemination of information. We are hoping to spread it far and wide. Any other questions coming up, or anything that's coming up for you, Sebastien and Rickey, about the opportunity, or even your hopes for this opportunity?
One thing that I don't think that we've mentioned, but it's been pretty key at sort of like I feel every round of funding that BANF has gone through is that we're trying to approach this from a place of abundance. Um, so even though there are only 24 spots, please don't think of this as winners and losers. It's like the idea is that we all win, that we all sort of like get something from. And I'm mentioning this in part because I think it's a beautiful thing. It's a great way to think about it, especially going back to like your idea of like reaching out to other people and saying, "Hey, you should apply too," as opposed to sort of like keeping the secret or anything like that. But also being real with you, when we are looking over applications, it's I think it sort of like it kind of registers which organizations are thinking in terms of abundance as opposed to little boxes. So
Mhm.
keep that in mind, please.
I want to touch on the leadership portion of this work. I think this has come up multiple times through different avenues of BAMF's work, but came up specifically when we were going through the landscape exploration project. The idea that this is twofold. Oftentimes that information lives with a single person within an organization, and we're thinking about capacity building across organizations because we know people move around from organization to organization. Life, things, opportunities will continue to have us moving around, but the hope is that we are keeping people in the city of Houston, and therefore keeping that knowledge in the community. And that's great, right? Like watching people grow and thrive is exactly what we want. The other end of that is that in thinking about one single person being the holder of knowledge, that can be a real deficit on an organization if that person moves on. So we're really thinking about that the access for multiple people in the cohort experience is a way to build capacity for the organization at large, but also build future leaders. So I encourage you when you're thinking about who is engaging in the cohort. We'd encourage you to look at senior leadership. We'd encourage you to look at, someone in a programmatic role who would be helping develop the curriculum. But then, is there a coordinator? Is there a teaching artist that is just ready for that next step, ready to become more connected in the community? I think that this is an opportunity to learn not just from your mentor pair, not just from the facilitators, not just from the technical supports, but just learn through osmosis from being part of a larger network of folks that are deeply invested in working with students.
I always feel like today's teaching artist is tomorrow's executive director. It's, it totally grows.
We have a question. As I consider potential organizations, are organizations that have previously received other Banff grants also eligible to receive this arts education grant? Absolutely. Past grantees are very much encouraged to apply. Other questions that are coming up for folks? Maybe we can talk just a moment about the cohort experience and the expectations for engagement. We're looking at quarterly altogether meetings with the cohort, and we are thinking about being fairly responsive in those gatherings. What those convenings will look like will be dictated by the needs of the cohort as we get to know all of you. Additionally, you'll have bi-monthly meetings with your facilitator. Your dedicated facilitator will work with the two organizations in your mentorship pairing to come up with your own metrics of success for the experience. So no two pairs will have the same conversations, will be sharing the same knowledge among themselves. And the way that those meetings come together is also totally up to you, again, being responsive to your needs. We are not trying to be prescriptive in the engagement and in the way that people learn together, grow together, build relationships. So I believe that there's a lot of room for creativity, even in the way that we're growing these relationships between organizations and between leaders.
Yeah, space for creativity is so important because those success metrics that we collect can be used by other organizations in the future. So we'll basically, be creating a safe of artistic activities that can go from organization to organization. And communication, as always, if there's ever a thought or a question, please feel free to reach out because I think in this process, we're all learning together.
Any other questions coming up for folks? We will continue to populate the support desk with additional information as things come up. And any questions you have can go into that support desk webpage, or you're also welcome to send questions to info@houstonbanff.org. If it is a question that is wholly specific to your organization and you don't want to put it on that public facing page, we can absolutely answer those questions. And, when questions come in through info@Banff or at houstonbanff.org, we are touching base with the design team. You may be asking us a question that we really truly need to consider, and we will bring minds together to answer in the most appropriate and responsive way. We will be posting this recording to the Banff YouTube channel later this week. The recording will also be hosted on the program webpage. We are available if you need us, or if you just want to chat through how we got here, where we are right now, and where we are planning on going. And I say planning because, again, we don't know what the end point is, other than we know that we're building a stronger network. Leave room for just any last questions. And Rickey or Sebastien, do you have anything that you'd like to share before we close out today's session?
You know, just like, yeah, we are available. If you catch me in the streets, it's like, feel free to ask. You know, it's like he's not at work. I'm always kind of at work. I have too many jobs to not be at work. So, you know, you bump into me at some event or something, you got some questions, you want to chop it up about it. He's like, yeah, feel free, please. You know my name, this is what I look like. It's all good.
Sure. My sentiments exactly.
Thank you all for joining us this morning. And I want to take a moment to a shout out to Hank Hancock, who is the man behind the curtain who makes a lot of this work happen. So thank you, Hank, for being a constant support system as we move through this work. We are so grateful to all of you for joining us on a Saturday morning, and it's actually sunny outside. So I say we break early and we all enjoy the rest of our day. Please reach out.
Eepi, thank you for leading us through this morning. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure to learn.
It's a joy to do this work together. We will see all of you out in the community and hope to see applications roll in. Please don't hesitate to reach out, and y'all have a great day.
Have a great day, everyone.